Welcome back to the Mighty Mum podcast. I'm Tegan, your host, and today I'm with Jelena. She is a stress and burnout expert and nutritionist. How did you become what you are? And I need you. I need you in my life right now.
Well, thank you, Tegan, so much for having me. I always laugh, and this is my first point of contact when people ask me about my name because it's very unique. It starts with a J, but it's actually Jelena.
Jelena.
Color,
oh
Jelena.
My gosh, I'm so sorry.
All good. No, I get so many different names, and I actually get that as my, pitch in when I come in to do a public speaking. So I get people to laugh a bit, get them to ease up, because when they hear a topic about stress and burnout, I can already see them scrunching down. Oh my God, this is me. I need it. So just a bit of a relax and a funny joke to always start with. And how did I become a stress and burnout? I always say recovery expert, because to be an expert in something, you need to really go through the path to understand what that is and what's been happening behind the closed doors. Because a lot of the times, especially now in modern world through society, we see all of the experts in different areas, but until we really truly see their story and the things that they've been through to become an expert in a different fields, we don't quite understand that. So when my journey started, it really started ages ago without me even realizing it started. So when I was 19, my mom was a big CEO in a former company back home in Serbia, where I'm originally from. And I was looking always up to her. She was my star, my role model. She was everything I wanted to be. The perfect mom, as we say. She was always there for everybody else, unfortunately, but her. She was running a multinational company. She had 2 kids. She was cooking and cleaning, and like we all mothers do. But unfortunately, that took such a big toll on her health that when I was 19 years old, I remember that night she was lying on my lap and we're having this amazing conversations. And all of a sudden she went pale blank. She started vomiting and she started screaming so loudly that my dad was like, okay, we need to call an ambulance. Something is happening. And that night she had a massive heart attack that literally put her in a disability at 48 years old. I'm 40 now. So it really scares me when I think about, at 48 years old, you're young, pretty much. You're just getting started, as we say. And all of a sudden, in a way, her life stopped. Luckily, she survived, but stopped. Like, she couldn't walk properly anymore. She couldn't do anything properly anymore because she didn't have any strength in her left.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was 19. And I said to myself, okay, I just need to push through. You're 19. What do you know at 19? Let's be honest. And I just took everything on me, cooking and cleaning and doing all of these things. So from the 19, I started slowly being burned out. But back then, nobody really talked about it. Nobody really, asked or told what's stress. You just move on.
Yeah.
And at the age of 27, I moved to New Zealand.
Oh,
and
nice.
Yeah, I loved it. I said, okay, I'm done. I want to change. My mom was fine. My dad was fine. Everybody was settled.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's ready for me to live my life. I met my husband, got 2 kids, and pretty much went into the same pattern as she was. Again, subconsciously, I didn't know.
Yeah.
But I still remember the day I was 35. I had my second baby, and I decided, okay, I'm going to go back home, see my family, spend some time. And I went there and I felt that something was off. I didn't know what. I felt something was off. And then 3 weeks after that, my dad told me I'm coughing out blood.
Oh.
From that point on, my holiday wasn't a holiday anymore. Again, I came back home to look after somebody. Unfortunately, my dad had a terminal cancer. There wasn't anything nobody can do. But from that moment, and in that particular time, 3 of my best friends also got diagnosed from cancer. So it was, in a way, life showing me that something is wrong, terribly wrong here. So when my dad passed away, I decided, okay, I'm going to go deep dive into nutrition here. That was the first point of my transformation, let's say it like that. I deep dive, I went into diploma to learn about the food, start cutting out all of these different processed foods and things like that, starting really trying to nurture firstly myself and then my whole family. But because subconsciously, and always come through that subconscious mind, because a lot of the things we people are, as humans, we are creatures of habits. We do things, everything as a habit. And we don't, a lot of the times don't understand that those habits can be created from patterns of fear. I felt very fearful subconsciously that something very wrong is happening and something very badly will happen to me. So I needed to strip down everything that's bad from my life that I considered bad, but also what social media told me it's bad for me. So at one point, I was literally living on smoothies and salads. I didn't eat gluten. I was vegan. I was all of these trends completely. And I remember one day, my 7-year-old boy back then, he came to me and he said to me, "Hey, mom, let's have pancakes." And no joke, on so serious face, I was like, "Yeah, that's not healthy for you."
Yeah.
At that moment, I was like, "Huh? Are you serious?" And that's where I started to understand, because at that moment, I had so many migraines, IBS problems, digestion, hormonal issues, menstrual fluctuation, things that I never had before, ever. I was perfectly healthy woman. And all of a sudden, from this amazing lifestyle, healthy diet, all of the problems started. So I said to myself, I'm this nutritionist who's supposed to be helping people to get better, but I'm a hypocrite.
Yeah.
Because I'm not. It's like I feel horrible. I don't have energy. I'm tired. Everything that I loved to do before now makes me exhausted and I don't want to do it. So I said to myself, either you're doing everything wrong or, there is something wrong. But of course, all of the tests and everything I was done, they were perfectly fine. Like there was, by the GP standards, everything was perfectly fine. So that's when I realized that there is something more deeper behind this. And that's when I noticed that every time I thought about having food, it caused me stress because I knew that from habits, I will go to yet another boring salad, yet another boring smoothie, because everybody says that it's good for you.
Yeah.
And that's when the modalities of stress and burnout started to really come into my life, where I started researching and understanding, okay, how does that stress, how do I feel stress? Because you always come from yourself. Everybody has different symptoms of how the stress impacts their life, how burnout impacts their life. And that's where I understood the difference and what is cortisol levels and what is that stress hormone and how does that make and break you pretty much. But the thing is that I then started asking questions, but getting a lot of the questions from people, but how do I get rid of stress? And I'm like, you don't get me wrong. Stress is all around us. Let's be completely honest with that.
Yeah.
People started asking me, how do I relieve stress? How do I do this? Do you have modalities? Do you have routine? And I said, look, I have all of these tools that I've developed in the last 3 years. But the first and foremost important thing is that you need to deal with that stress the moment it comes in. As long as you sit in that pain, the more the stress will come up. And I had the episode yesterday, which was the perfect example of it. I was my own example where for 4 days, I was sitting in this pain, sitting in this problem, sitting in this self-doubt. And I'm not good enough and I'm not doing this properly and all of this. And I couldn't sleep for 4 nights. I was taking pills, which I never do. Didn't do anything.
Why do you sound like me right now?
Well, yeah.
Okay, good.
And what happened is that until yesterday, when I literally released all of my emotions, I cried as hell.
Yeah.
I journaled as hell. I talked to 3 people at the same time. I went to bed and slept like a baby.
Oh, wow.
I didn't need anything to help me to sleep. Because until we release those emotions that's cockling us and sitting right there in our throat. Thyroid is issue of not your hormones. I'll be 100% clear here. Thyroid, the reason why people have the thyroid issues is because of the high cortisol levels for a prolonged period of time. Pretty much they're not saying their truth.
Yeah.
And that's what I saw in so many examples. And that's what was happening with me yesterday. Until I cried, until I told myself the truth, the hard truth.
Yeah.
Nothing was changing.
Yeah.
Because my body needed to release that. And that's what I can say proudly that I'm now stress and burnout recovery expert because I've been and I'm still going through all of these cycles. So then I can help others to recognize them and then the modalities on how to heal from that.
Wow. Wow, you sound like me as well. And that's why I feel like we've connected because this is exactly the conversation that I need to be having right now. And I know like a lot of my friends that I'm going to make listen to this will also have these questions. So I guess if I was to use myself as an example, so I've just finished, like working full time. I've now like launched into a business. I'm putting a lot of pressure on myself. Again, not sleeping, taking pills. Yep, I have been taking, admittedly,
we're all guilty.
Some rest of it and some herbals, and I've been doing all that because I'm staying up all night, like not sleeping, but also not being productive.
Yeah.
And I think. Like I'm really resonating with what you're saying, I have to sit with the emotions. I have to sit with the clarity. And I think journaling is probably what I need to be doing as well. What other things do you think could help to recognize like what is actually causing the stress? I know it's me and it's the pressure. And I think a lot of people, what I've found, don't talk about when you're starting your own business or you're starting social media, the pressure of being perfect and being successful overnight.
Yes.
Because everybody sees this overnight success. And because that's not happening to me right now or how I feel, I'm failing.
Exactly.
I'm just like, I'm failing. And I'm constantly sitting in this like, I'm failing mindset, which is like the worst, right?
Yeah.
What can you tell me to change? What should I do? I need your help.
You know what? I feel that this conversation is going to resonate with so many people.
Yeah.
Funny enough, I had the same thing in the last 4 days. Like literally. Let me shed some light. When we are full-time or part-time working, it doesn't matter what type of work, but you have a regular income that's coming. That creates stability in your mind.
Yes.
So I will here use, so people can understand more in this, and this is what I love using. Tony Robbins says perfect thing. People have 6 human needs. From those 6 human needs, we are predominantly driven by 2. For us women, the 2 most predominant one is growth and contribution and love and connections. So we are driven by that because we always want to grow. We always want to learn, different skills, no matter if we are growing a business or not. It's in our nature and to nurture, to love and connect. But for us as well, the biggest thing is as well as having a stability, having in a way, a certainty that, we can do these things, but then we have a bit of money coming in. So this is where, for example, I had my burnout in the last 4 days because in July last year, I resigned from my full-time job and I went full in my business. At that time, I had a couple of clients and my husband, because he's a painter, he earns decent amount of money. He said, okay, we are sweet. If you continue like this, you don't have to go back to work. Now, that was like the biggest liberation you can ever feel because you can focus on your own business. And that's where you feel, you're good enough, you're productive, you're doing all of these things and you have energy. When your self-worth is connected with the things you love, that's what your needs are, with growth, with contribution, with doing something meaningful, like 2 of us are doing. You with your mining podcast, me with my stress and burnout coaching, we feel good enough because we're changing people's lives. We're nurturing. We are, spreading these amazing words. But where does the catch 22 comes in. The money side. And the side that all of a sudden there's no that stability. We don't know when the next paycheck will come, where, that kind of stability will come in. Because what happened with me is that in December, so from July to December, I had quite a few clients, all went well. I was really getting excited. But then all of a sudden in December, boom, they were pretty much all gone. And oh my God, I went to literally deep hole as again, not good enough. I'm not doing this well. I'm not worthy enough. And those are our primal emotions. And then that gets built and the fear in a way expands in our energy. We're very fearful.
Yeah.
We're constantly chasing things and that chase creates stress and the burnout and thinking, oh, I constantly need to work, be productive, stay up all night. As you said, you stay up all night, but you don't do anything that's productive. But your mind is not shutting off.
Yeah.
So those are the first most common signs of the stress and burnout caused by that feeling of really deep self-doubt and questioning, is this what I'm doing actually the right path for me? Or should I just go back to work and earn some money?
Yeah.
So that's what happened to me. And in the last 4 days, what I realized is that, okay, yes, I'm not in the place where I expected myself to be.
Yeah.
Now, this is a key thing, because here's the equation of what stress actually is for you and all of your beautiful listeners. Stress equals reality minus expectations. So let me explain that.
Yes.
What that means? It means that, as you said, as you gave a beautiful example, we open up our business, whatever that business is. What we do first, we jump on social media to see what our competitors do, what's the trends and things like that. But we scroll and we start comparing ourselves.
Yes.
And we start, oh, how can he done that? Like, he's been only having such and such amount of followers or something like that. It doesn't really mean what it is. And then, okay, I will follow him or her because they're doing so amazing. And then you start doing that. Doesn't work.
Yeah.
And then you jump on another trend and jump in another trend. And you're constantly burning yourself down because you're trying to get something very, very quick.
Yeah.
So you have your expectation that you created in your own head of, okay, I open up my business. Let's say in 3 months, I want to have $10,000. I want to achieve this and this and this and this. But then reality kicks in 3 months, nothing happened. And then you start questioning yourself. Am I good enough? Am I worthy enough? Is this right path for me? And all of these, as I call them, looping thoughts, because you're not giving yourself really an answer. You're constantly asking yourself questions over and over and over again. So this is what I do. And this is what I help my clients to understand, how to get out of those looping thoughts and the questions of why this is happening to me, why my business is not growing, why my relationship is failing, why my kids are not listening to me, why they're being rascals when I'm just trying to have a bit of a rest.
Can you read my mind?
It's all of our moms. Like it's not just the moms that have the same, of course. I'm not trying to exclude them whatsoever.
Yeah.
But instead of sitting in that why, because why is actually a negative question. It doesn't, your brain can't do two things in one. Look, and I'll be 100% honest. Whoever told them for a woman that can multitask, that's rubbish.
Yeah.
Like 100% rubbish. That's causing the biggest burnout and the biggest stress in our entire life.
Yeah.
Because if you're trying to do 3, 4, 5 things at once, you will burn hard.
Yes.
I know, I've done. My mom did. My mom passed away at 67 from a stroke. Her body just gave up because she was constantly trying to do all the things at once. And she was my biggest motivator of what not to do. Look, don't get me wrong. I still caught myself multitasking because it's a habit. But it takes time to truly be present and tell yourself, okay, I'm multitasking now. What I don't need to do at this, what's not urgent at this particular time.
Yeah.
If I'm cooking, for example, And a lot of now women say, oh, they're cooking, they're calling their friend, they're listening to a podcast, they are trying to juggle kids while they're running around the house.
Yes.
Do the same thing. But if I'm cooking, then I say to myself, okay, I'm just cooking here now.
Yeah.
I'll put some nice, chill, relaxed music to get my groove in, and that's it.
Yeah.
Because when I started connecting with the food and started connecting with the things that I'm doing from place of love and gratitudes, my migraine stopped, my IBS stopped. I didn't chase for another quick fix and a solution. I started healing myself and my soul.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest breakthrough. So how you do it? There's a simple 3 questions. So if your listeners listen to anything throughout all of this podcast, hear me out on this and write this down.
Yes.
So the first question, anytime you come to a challenge that's stressing you out, a meeting at work, a colleague, kids, whatever that is, your husband, your partner,
yes,
every single day and every single possible minute. First, you need to ask yourself a question. Is this situation, whatever thing it happened, is it true? Did it really happen? In what way? Let's say your kid dropped the plate and it shattered down. It's obvious. It's true. It happened. What can I do about it? That's the second thing. Now, it's your choice. If you are reacting, if you're shouting and screaming and, doing all of this, trust me, your cortisol has been very high for a very long time. That's your first sign that you're in heavy burnout. I was. And that's when I started noticing because, come on, the kid just dropped the plate.
Yeah.
We all drop things. It's completely normal. But if we overreact, that means there are sensors and our body sensations is so intense that kind of noise triggers something inside of our brain.
Yeah.
So then I ask myself a question, is this true? Yes. Plate broke. Maybe your life broke. Maybe your relationship broke. Maybe your relationship with food broke. Something broke down. But then instead of asking yourself, why this happened to me? Why is God punishing me? Why is the universe punishing me? Why am I not good enough? And all of these negative things, because where your thinking goes, you'll produce more and more of those things. So how we stop that? Instead of asking negative, we ask for a positive. Because the moment you ask yourself a question, what can I do about it? Immediately your brain can't, as I again say, can't do 2 things at once. It will stop the negative loop of overthinking of why, and it will start thinking about the productive things. So what can I do about it? Instinctively, you will go and pick up that plate, because you don't want your child to get hurt. You don't want them to step on anything that can hurt them and things like that. So that's more a physical example. But in your life, let's say, God forbid, hurricane happens or your house burns down or your marriage breaks down. The worst thing that we do in those kind of situations is that I always get an example as a fire alarm. When you hear a fire alarm, you immediately go out of the house because you sense that the danger is coming. But with emotions, what we humans do is we literally sit in front of the fire alarm, we get the fire and we put oil on it and we burn together with it. Because we're asking all of these useless questions, completely useless questions.
Yeah.
At that point, at that moment, what can I do about it? How can I heal? Can I talk to a friend? Can I go to see a therapist? Can I, change my lifestyle? Can I ask for help? Anything. What can you do about it? Because you are the one who can make the change for yourself. Nobody else can do that for you.
Yeah.
But then the third most important question, as I love to quote Mogadat, the Jedi Master question, is that if you feel that you can't do anything about it, if you feel that you've done everything you possibly could, then the next question is, what can I do about the things that I cannot change? For example, when it's raining, you can't change the weather.
Yeah.
When you're stuck in traffic, You can't change the traffic. You can't magically get all of those cars in front of you to disappear. So what can you do in those kind of situations in order to help you settle down?
Yeah.
So with these questions and with these modalities, I have helped so many people to understand how to, in that possible moment, not stay in the stressful situation, but get out of that quickly.
Yeah.
And look, it will take months of practice. It will take a lot of time. Once those questions are pretty much in the back of your mind, it gets easier.
Yeah. And so I've taken a lot away. I feel like I should have been taking notes, but I'm like, I think it's so true, especially that first question when you're like, is it true? Did that really happen? Because I think as well, one of my biggest issues, and I, I've had a couple of friends in the same situation where I've flipped it back on them. You overthink a situation. Yes. So like say I go to a client meeting and everything goes great, but then I never hear from them again. And then I sit in the stress of like, what did I do? Play by play every single moment, or like even at work, things that I'd say to people. And then I'm like, why did I say that? And you sit in this stress constantly.
Exactly.
So it's really good that your first question is, did that actually happen? Because the reason they might not be calling me back is because they can't afford it, or it wasn't aligned, or they're just so busy and overwhelmed that right now that's not their priority.
Exactly.
It's so funny that that's the first question, because I think you can go into a spiral.
We all do all the time. A
spiral of like these false narratives.
Exactly.
And then I want to go back to your point, which you said earlier on about the nutrition side. So I think a lot at the moment on social media is that it's, coming to me is cortisol diets, cortisol stress, So, obviously the biggest factor is the stress and the pressure, the cause, the root problem. When we go to the nutritional side of it, what is the best diet? I don't know. You probably can't answer that directly as to like this is this, but like what's the best kind of practices daily that you would recommend for myself, busy mum, without going vegan and only having plain salads and smoothies, because I'm a taste girl. I have to have sauces and everything like that. So
and you should. Look, you should. That was my journey, and I always want to share so people could look. I respect everybody's choices. I was a vegan for a year. I was paleo. I was keto. I tried all of them, and I respect because all of them have their own benefits.
Yeah,
but I always then come back to one thing. When I was growing up, there was no restrictions, let's say. There was no social media. There was no in things of you shouldn't eat this or you should eat that and all of these things. We more have the modalities of how we eat the food. Of course, what we eat, yes, but it's more about how we eat the food. Now, that's the most... For me, the one of the first things I start teaching people with nutrition, because when people think about nutrition, I remember they always come to me and say, oh, I can't do diets. I know, I want this and I want this. And I'm like, okay, who told you anything about the diet?
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the diet here. I didn't even mention the word diet because the word diet comes actually from a Latin word, dieta, which means a lifestyle.
Yes.
But unfortunately, it got a negative connotation throughout last 30 years with, standard American diet, standard this diet, standard that diet. I'm like, can we just cut the crap?
Yeah.
And just think about how we eat that food. So when we are stressed and we are burned out, imagine yourself, now I'm asking you a question. How do you eat your food?
On the run, like literally this morning, okay, I'll give myself as an example. I'm getting one girl ready for daycare, the other one for gymnastics. I've just come home from the gym. I'm quickly, making them a smoothie. I've made them eggs. And so I'm quickly, as I'm packing their lunch, eating my piece of toast and drinking half the smoothie and then running out the door with a coffee.
Exactly.
I can see my problem.
Now, the reason why I always want to say, so for example, you are conscious enough, and that's great, that you want to drink smoothies because you want to have a good nutrition inside of your body. And that's fabulous. And that's really great. But the way you eat it, what's happening inside of your brain is that your brain is not connecting with the food you're eating because your brain is not it's not there.
Yeah.
It's not with your smoothie. It's not with your breakfast. It's with one kid, another kid, gymnastics. I have a podcast. I have this. I have that. And I'm like, you put the food and it just goes straight out because we haven't connected with it. We didn't set the time. Look, we're all guilty. I am as well. In this, I always say, modern society world where everything is like go, 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 go.
Yeah.
That's the first reason why people have IBSs, why people have any digestion issues. I always say myself included because I went through that.
Yeah.
I will make myself the most amazing green smoothie, but listen to this. So I will have banana in my smoothie, banana, avocado, spinach, chia seeds, linseeds, protein powder, coconut milk. I'm just trying to remember what else. Spirulina. So hold on. I'm had 8 ingredients shoved into the smoothie and then drinking my smoothie on the bus.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. Firstly, because when you blend all of these ingredients together, your digestive tract doesn't know what you're having. It can't understand where's the spinach in there, where's the banana in there, where is the linseed and all of these things, because it's all blended in this one big mash. Not that I'm not against smoothies. I love smoothies.
Yeah.
But people are trying to shove in, again, myself included, so many nutrients thinking that that's good for them because they put all of these protein and omegas and this and that. And their body's like, I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah.
Because it literally comes down and your little beautiful mitochondria in your cells, they don't know what to pick. They don't know what's the real food in here.
Yeah.
So that was my guilty because as a nutritionist, I always wanted to, feel myself having this beautiful drink smoothie and all of that. Didn't do, like I was literally, pardon me, I was farting like hell after that green smoothie for years. But I didn't want to admit that was actually causing me bloating because you shouldn't be eating a raw spinach because it has a compounds that triggers the gut. If your gut is already in distress, which majority people, please don't eat raw. Like that's the first thing. Don't do raw. A raw, I love the raw if your digestion is perfectly fine. If you're healthy, if you don't have any symptoms, if your stress is under control, go raw. But spinach and kale and a couple of other vegetables and nuts, they should never be eaten raw. The funniest thing is, when I was growing up, my mom always cooked spinach.
Yeah.
And she told me never ever heat the spinach up. Did I listen to her? Nah. Because I was following all of these social media experts and things like that. A lot of people told me, oh, but I put spinach in my smoothie. That's really good. I'm like, do you have digestion and bloating and everything after that? Yeah, cut the spinach off.
Yeah.
So it's more about how we eat that food at the beginning. And that's the first thing that I teach my clients is you need to take time to actually sit down and have a meal.
Yeah.
Because what's happening with that? You're going to have that meal. You're already preparing it. So in that 10-15 minutes of preparation, the food, you're seeing it. Your 5 senses are open. You can smell the food. You can see the food. Your digestive enzymes are already started to open up, ready to, get that food in their system. And you're preparing it and all of a sudden, whoop, and they're like, what's happening? They're completely lost. But if you sit down, especially if you're sitting down with a family, that's even more beneficial because then you're really in that food. You're really nurturing yourself and you're stopping.
Yeah.
That's the biggest point, to shut off the noise. No TV, no phone, no screens, no anything. It's you with the food and with the people you love. Talking about gratitudes, talking about positive things. That's where then whatever you're putting inside of your body, your state is relaxed. Because if you're in fight and flight and you're rushing in, that's why a lot of women have problems with belly fat. They can't lose weight. They're doing HIIT cardios. They're going crazy in the gym and they still have this, a little bit of waist, a little bit of hips, a little bit of that. And they're getting depressed because nothing is working. It's not because of that. It's because your fight and flight response is so high up that your body waits for that food so it can store it as fat. And that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
But once you stop and really, truly stop, take that half an hour, nothing is going to happen. Your email is going to still be there. Your kids are still going to be there. Everything is still going to be there. But your health won't if you don't stop. So that's the first thing that I do always. Sit down, take the time for your meal. If you have half an hour for lunch, if you're working full-time in the office, grab your lunch, go outside.
Yeah.
Leave your phone, leave all of that, and just sit down, do 5 minutes of deep breathing. There's so many YouTube videos on that. Check some of it out, because what breathing does, it also opens up your digestive enzymes, and it's giving signals to your body, I'm safe. I can absorb, bring me the food.
Yeah.
If you just do that, you'll see massive changes in your life.
Wow. I feel like you're literally talking to me. And that's amazing. I feel like I've got so much to take away from that. And
I'm glad.
That was amazing. So before we wrap up today, I know you said if anyone could take away anything, it'd be those 3 questions. What would be one more final piece of advice that you'd like everybody to leave this podcast with?
One biggest piece of advice, don't ever feel guilty for taking the time for you. Because if you don't, and if you constantly give yourself to everybody else, especially scrolling on your phone the moment you open your eyes, you're literally sucking yourself in everybody else's life.
Yes.
And that's causing you stress. That's causing you imbalances in everything else. So the first thing, and that's I think my biggest thing for any type of evening routine or morning routine, be grateful. Start your day with 3 or 4 things you're grateful for to have in your life. Because when you start with positivity, your day will start differently.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You've talked to my soul. It's so lovely to have you on. And if anybody wants to get in touch with you, how will they get in touch?
So I'm through all of the platforms. Simple, Life Food Balance, all together on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. Search me up, DM me. I'm happy to answer any questions. My website is as well, www.lifefoodbalance.co.
Oh, amazing. And thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. It was wonderful.
Amazing. Thank you.